and gentlemen, welcome back to the Whatnauts review show. This is number 117. Did I get that one right? Is it 116? Yeah, it's 117. Wow, okay.
Ooh.
We're getting close on 120, and then before you know it, we'll be at 420. It's gonna be great. This is our weekly book club style podcast. If you were unaware, we cover all sorts of different mediums and different genres, all sorts of stuff. So there's bound to be something for you. Go check it out. Go check out all of our stuff. You can jump in at any number here on the review show, as long as you've seen the thing that we're talking about. I don't know. This week, though, we are talking about an Amazon original movie called The Vast of Night.
Mm-hmm.
But we will get to that in just a sec. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined, as always, by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, what's going on?
I'm just thinking about what our show would be like if you did have to listen to certain episodes before other episodes. Like, you're not going to understand our discussion on The Vast of Night unless you heard us talk about Green Lantern, the animated series, a year and a half ago.
I mean, hey, maybe there is some kind of storyline mixed in. I always record little 30-second videos after we do the podcast for our YouTube channel, to be like, hey, go subscribe to our channel up here and go watch one of our other videos. If this was a full-time job for me, I've thought about having there be a story in that, and me writing a script, just me in costume and different characters and stuff like that. I think that'd be hilarious. That'd be great.
Oh man. You have an entirely different persona just to tell people to like and subscribe.
Right? Yeah, and things happen. There's betrayals, there's reunions, all sorts of stuff. You fall in love, you fall out of love, all sorts of stuff. It would be great.
Wow.
But I don't have the time.
No.
Not at all. Yeah. I'm doing okay. I started my staycation yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Kind of. I played video games all day and didn't do anything else, so it was great. But I'm been good. How's your weekend?
It was good.
So far? Yeah.
Yesterday I went over to my parents' house while everyone was gone, so I could do my laundry and not worry about infecting anybody that was there in person. So yeah, just me and getting work done, and my dad's recliner and all the stuff he records on his DVR.
I was about to say, did you have something new on the DVR?
Yeah, this is what's new. My dad has notoriously very eclectic taste. So what's new is that he has Failure to Launch, the Matthew McConaughey romantic comedy, Cabaret, Jay Leno's Garage, 3 episodes, a recording of a concert between Daryl Hall and Elle King, 2 episodes of The Alienist, the dark puppet
is that
comedy.
Like The Pianist, but with an alien?
No, it's a crime show set in Victorian times, where that was how they referred to people who they knew were mentally ill, were deviants, were committing serial murders and things like that. They're they are alien to us. So if you studied, basically this was OG Criminal Minds. They called you an alienist if you studied people like this.
CSI Victorian era.
He recorded Guys and Dolls, a movie I already bought for him on Blu-ray, and 1 episode of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic.
Wonderful.
Because it's my niece's new favorite thing. So I guess he was I want to know what it is she's talking about. What's a rainbow dash?
I want to be hip and know what these kids are talking about these days.
What's hot with 3-year-olds?
What's a brony? Anyways, let's start talking about the Fast of Night. So I was the one that pitched this last week. I kind of had a theme of just like, let's do original movies from all of the 3 main streaming services. I don't remember off the top of my head all the stuff that I pitched, but this is the one we picked, the Amazon original movie. It's a sci-fi film set in like the 1950s, maybe 60s ish.
I think it's like 58 or 59, like right at the end of the decade. I think I saw something say that.
Yeah. And I had a feeling you were going to pick this one.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was when we were watching like season 1 of Mr. Robot. And I started seeing commercials for this, and they were like, it reminds me of young Spielberg in his heyday, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, huh, okay, well, the trailer looks good. So it's been like in the back of my mind since then, but I knew you would pick it because it is, like set in the like late 1950s, and it stars a phone operator and a late night radio DJ, and those things just spell Melissa.
Yeah, just quirky, quaint, small town, supernatural adventure. Yeah,
exactly. Which is pretty much it. Like this movie is surprisingly straightforward.
Yes,
with what it is. It's a small town. There's not much happening there. There's like a local high school basketball game. That seems to be the big talk of the town. It's the big event that week, and so the whole town is going. But meanwhile, this late night phone operator hears a weird noise over the radio and is like, what the heck is going on? And they start investigating that sound, and it leads them to some interesting places, some interesting people within the town. That's basically it for a synopsis. Like there's not much more to it than that without getting into spoilers and stuff like that. So Melissa, I want to ask you, what was your kind of general thoughts of this now that you Or were you aware of this before I had pitched it?
No, I hadn't heard of this.
Interesting.
I don't think this had gotten into my allotted bank of commercials the last time I was watching something on Prime. So this took me by surprise. I was texting someone while I was watching this movie, just saying that I was watching the movie, and at the end I texted him. I'm like, I just finished that movie. That was neat. That didn't end the way I thought it would, but it really charmed me. And he said, oh, it didn't end the way you thought it would? Was there some big twist? And I said, no. That's what surprised me. You're right. The storytelling in this movie is very straightforward, very simplistic, in a way that's weirdly refreshing, that it doesn't try to shock you or pull the rug out from under you. It's exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that when we get into spoilers in just a couple
Spoiler
minutes,
alert,
but
there's no twist.
Yeah, but which in a ways is kind of a spoiler, but it's very simple. I enjoyed it, but I walked away with mixed feelings, if that makes sense. Like it's like I'm left thinking about it in my mind, but not in a way that like something like Parasite left me thining about the whole time. It's again, I'm wrestling with what they did in the movie, or like what happened in the plot in a way that I liked it, but I kind of wanted more. There's some things that they did that were fascinating and were really, really cool. And then there were some things that I was just like, fine. Whatever. And it was enough like of that kind of back and forth of like, well, I really like this, but then I don't like that one thing that I was just like, I don't really know where I'd fall on this. Like I enjoyed my time, but I don't know if I truly liked it or not.
I liked it. I think the two leads are very charming. I like their rapport with each other. This movie is stylistically wonderful. Like, I love the way it's shot. It's so good at setting mood and atmosphere and building up this town. Like, that's where it puts all of its attention. It's like, we're going to look great. We're going to set the scene. We're going to have these charming characters. And the plot's rather cookie cutter. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the characters for me were the main draw of this film. The their names again. It's
Fay and Everett.
Fay and Everett. Thank you. Yeah, they are fantastic. They are like the reason you should watch this film because their chemistry is great. The script, especially for Everett, just goes a mile a minute.
Yeah.
And he's using all sorts of like weird sayings and phrases and slang and stuff, and it's just like they're in such a small town that they don't like. He's the cool person, right?
Yes.
And
the town has.
Yes, the rest of the town just doesn't know what to do with him because he's so cool and he's so like hip and he knows all the slang, and so when he says this stuff they don't know if that's actually a saying or not, and so they just take him at his word.
Frankly, me either.
The one thing I want to say that is not spoilery is there's this one scene where he has a new tape recorder and he puts it on and he says something like, and now we're baking biscuits, and the girl's just like, bacon biscuits, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, that's what you call it. And then it's like the rest of the next like 20 minutes or so, like that's a thing. They'd be like, and he calls it bacon biscuits, and it's just like, what is this? Like it's a joke. It's a saying. It's like he's just saying something to say something.
Yeah.
Don't take him for real.
Yeah, this is the chattiest movie I have seen since The Social Network.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So it's good. I enjoyed my time. It's pretty short. It's only an hour and a half. So it's a quick movie. But there is something that this movie did do that I did not expect, which we will get into into spoilers. But let's get into a little bit of housekeeping right now, and then we will make our way to that spoiler section. If you guys did not know, we have multiple podcasts here at the Whatnauts. You guys can find out more information on our website, thewhatnauts.com. Or you guys can type in the Whatnauts on your favorite podcasting platform of choice. Just type in the Whatnauts and all of our shows will pop up right there. If you like what we do, patreon.com/the Whatnauts is where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. This coming week, I should be putting up our third and final installment of the Reactor Core Patreon exclusive stuff. In which Melissa, you and I have been reacting to movie trailers from different decades. And we're about to put up ours from the 2010s. So that will be an interesting and fun one. I think we've made some great content with that series. And I really want to do more stuff like that, because that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been great to talk about a trailer on its own and not necessarily as the representative of a larger movie.
Right, yeah. We watched trailers that we remember from our childhoods, ones that we don't remember at all, ones for movies we've seen, some we haven't seen, all sorts of stuff. So go check that out. That should be up on our website for Patreon members at the $3 tier, as well as all of our other exclusive content. And last but not least, thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier. So thank you, Sam, for helping us out and supporting us. We appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much. Okay, let's get into spoilers. Boom, here we are. Spoilers. Did it. Here's the thing that I did not expect with this film. It starts out with the spoof of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Which I loved. I was like, oh, I'm in. They're watching the Twilight Zone. And then they said something else. It was like, oh, it's a spoof of the Twilight Zone.
It's called Paradox Theater, and you're right. It is so pitch perfect to Twilight Zone that when it started, I'm like, is this a very close imitation, or is this like a rarely used Twilight? Yeah, like a rarely used intro, because I know they had several different variants of it. Is this just the one I've seen the least and I don't remember? And then it gets to Paradox Theater. I'm like, oh, this is just a real close match.
And so, yeah, the movie starts out with that. It's like that monologue. It's like you are at the intersection of space and mind, and you turn left and you see Paradox Theater, you know? And I, like, that first of all just has so much nostalgia for me that I'm just like, oh, yes, I like this. Good sci-fi. I like it.
Yeah.
But the... like you see it on this like old school tube TV with the actual dials on the side, and it's slowly like zooming in to the screen. And as you get closer and closer, the screen kind of fills your TV screen, and the episode of Paradox Theater that whoever is watching this TV is the movie that you are then watching. So the episode of Paradox Theater we are watching is The Vast of Night, which makes me wonder if they're going to do more of these.
Oh, I wouldn't mind it.
I don't know if that's the case. I don't think it is, but yeah, I would be okay with that. I know Hulu has they have like a series of horror movies. They aren't connected. They have some kind of like umbrella title that I don't remember.
Yeah, it's from Blumhouse Studios.
Yes.
And they're all holiday themed. They're all themed to a holiday, or like
I've seen a couple
one of
that
those...
I don't think are, but you're
well,
right.
No, but some of them I think they all are, but they're themed to like kind of obscure fun holidays. Like they had one a couple months that was about like a spooky dog, and that was just because April is Pet Appreciation Month. So there's Christmas and Halloween, and then there's also ones like that. It's all based on an event, a holiday, whether it's prominent or not.
Man, I want to see them do like National Waffle Day.
They could.
What happens with that? Like, how do you make a horror story out of National Waffle Day? But yeah, like I know they have something like that. I would like to see Amazon do something like that as well. It's like, hey, here's a series of sci-fi films that we have funded and stuff like that, and they're all under this like Paradox Theater banner. Would be neat. But yeah, so starts out, you're watching that thing, the episode turns into the movie you're watching. I really liked that. I thought that was phenomenal. I do have to say, in the end, though, I think opening that way hurt the film.
Yes. I agree with what you're saying.
And it's because of kind of what we mentioned at the start. There is no twist in this film. It is very straightforward, and Twilight Zone has conditioned me to be like, there is a twist. It's a cookbook, right? Like it is. You have all the time in the world, and then you break your glasses at the end. You think they're being invaded by Martians and stuff? No, this is a different planet, and the aliens are the humans, right? All of this, and like there has to be some kind of twist twist, and this I was just waiting for it and waiting for it. Like, okay, what is happening here? Is this another planet? Is the signal? Are they picking up a signal from Earth? Is it another dimension? What is happening here? And yeah, nothing. Which, like you said, in some ways is oddly refreshing. That it was just this very earnest, straightforward storytelling. But I do feel like I kind of had the rug pulled out from under me in a way that I didn't like. Not in the way that like, oh, that was a great twist, but it was just like, that's it. There's not more to this. What? Where's the next half hour of the film? Like,
yeah. There's no twist. There's no cautionary tale. That's also what Twilight Zone is.
Right.
It has this social commentary to it, which this movie touches upon briefly. I think one of the really interesting elements that they bring in is when Billy calls, he mentions that when the military brought soldiers in to work on these super secret clandestine operations.
Hispanic.
Yeah, it was marginalized people who they thought would be less trusted if they took the story to the wider world, which is sad, but it's interesting. I don't think I've seen another sci-fi, alien government conspiracy story touch on that before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it really just shows up for like the one moment. And then I suppose there is when they're talking to that older woman later in the movie. She was like a single mother who had this kid out of wedlock. Yeah. And then the aliens kind of affected the kid. And it makes you wonder if the aliens were paying enough attention to human society that they were like, oh, no, this is another marginalized type of person. Nobody's going to listen to this woman. So let's do weird things on her and her family.
Yeah.
But except for...
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that except for those moments, like... Yeah, there's no element of social commentary, cautionary tale, twist. It's like they just wanted the stylistic trappings of Twilight Zone, which they do execute really well.
They do,
I think the style of this movie is outstanding. Like, I'll definitely remember it for that.
Yeah. Like we don't even get a like who's watching that TV to watch this movie. Could that be the twist that it's an alien watching this about humans and what they think of aliens and stuff like that? Who knows? But yeah, we just don't get that, and it's very straightforward, and it's both a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because like like we said, it felt like it was missing something.
Yeah,
of just like, what's the moral? What's the like?
Yeah.
What's the thing that's going to be like, wow, this was a great movie, instead of, okay, it's a movie, right? And just stopping there, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing I think I'm wrestling with, because there are some things that they do so well in this film.
Yeah.
I loved. And then, yeah, there's this abrupt halt, and it just stops, and like, okay, I guess that's it. Fine.
Oh, it's done.
Yeah.
Everyone go home.
Yeah. It's good though. I think I enjoyed enjoyed my time.
Yeah, and like I recognize that there were missed opportunities, and the narrative kind of set you up to believe it was going to be a more complex narrative than it ultimately was. Like, I recognize some shortcomings, but they don't bother me. I think because I wonder if some of those, what we call shortcomings, it might have been intentional. They might have intentionally said, we don't want this to be super twisty. We want this to just be, are aliens coming to town? They are.
Yes.
There might have been a goal of theirs to just sort of like return to these 50s B movie roots of, it's just very simple.
Yeah.
The threat comes, we attempt to defeat threat. There's no ulterior motive behind anything.
So the next thing that I kind of want to mention that I kind of took issue with is actually something you praised it for in our non-spoilery section at the start here. You liked a lot of the way that it was shot. I
Yeah.
didn't. There was one scene that I thought was spectacular, which I'm sure we'll circle back around to. There's one like extra long tracking shot in there that was phenomenal. But the thing that I didn't like is it was dark the entire time. I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black.
Oh, you're right. Okay, so I watched this movie. I've got like a nice new TV in the living room.
Yeah.
But for this movie, like because I knew it was shorter, I'm like, I'm gonna curl up in bed and watch this. And in my room, like the lighting's different and I can make it like pitch dark in here. Like that's the vibe I wanted to watch this movie. And my TV in here is a little older. I'm like, yeah, I was having trouble seeing it, and I wasn't entirely sure how much of it was the movie and how much was me just not hitting the right settings on my TV.
It's definitely the movie. I have like big 4K HDR TV right at the head of my bed, and yeah, just couldn't see a thing. And it's just like it would be fine if it was like one scene, like the scene when they're running through the woods, but they go to that old woman's house and they have no lights on.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why don't you turn a light on? You're inside. Like, what are you doing?
You do have a point. Like there are times when they go to a location, I'm like, I don't understand diegetically within the story why this is dark.
Yeah, it bothered me because, again, like we mentioned, the characters are phenomenal. I want to see more of them.
Yes.
That's exactly it. I want to see more of them because I didn't see them most of the movie. Like the times that they are lit, like when they're in the like radio station or they're at the phone switchboard thing, like those shots are fantastic. And to be honest, like I'm almost wondering if this started out as an audio drama.
This is a real audio drama feel to it.
It absolutely does, and all of the scenes are doable, are workable in that framework. Because we've covered a number of audio drama podcasts, and a lot of times they often have some kind of conceit where it's like, hey, I'm recording this. I'm a news reporter recording this, or I'm a therapist and I'm recording our sessions for my own research and stuff like that. There's always some reason for them to be like recording it, right? That there's ones with like late night radio stations, and this fit within that. Because they carry around that recording device wherever they go. And so that's kind of what I'm wondering, if like they didn't really put much thought into the scenes or the locations of this because the script was maybe initially planned as an audio drama and then they pitched it to different studios and Amazon picked it up and they were like, it's fine, we'll work with this. And then it was just like, well, the movie's kind of dark.
I think I love all the settings in this movie. I agree with what you're saying that the lighting could be different.
Yeah,
in some points,
I'm
like
fine with the settings, but yeah, it's just dark.
I like the lighting in some points. Like whenever they're in the gym, I like that weird yellow glow that the gym has.
Yeah, those like old school, not fluorescent lights that take like 20 minutes to turn on if you've been in those like old school gyms. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's I don't know, like those I think were the major things that was just like I didn't like this, or I don't think they did enough. Like it's I'm sure like in school, whether it was in high school or college, you wrote some kind of paper or did some artwork or something where they were like, good, you have the idea. Now take it one step further. Yeah. This felt like they had the idea, but they never took it one step further. And it just like, it was a good story. Like it was fine, but they didn't take that extra step to make it spectacular. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think narratively perhaps that may be missing. But as I've said, I like the style. One thing about this movie that I think is great. To get back to that Twilight, the Paradox Theater framing device, that TV shows back up like every 20 minutes in the movie. Like the film, like it kind of zooms out and like it gets black and white and grainy, and then it kind of like zooms back in and that like loses it. It's like you're seeing these little mini episodes on the TV. Like it's not just at the beginning and at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like it shows up periodically, and there's not like the next episode. Like I don't think there's chapter titles or anything. It's purely visual to like demarcate changes in setting.
Yeah, when there's some kind of big change of scenery or jump across town. Which is really interesting because when you think about it, this is all taking place during that high school basketball game, which is only going to be like 2 hours long at the most, right? And the movie is only an hour and a half. So for the most part, this is in real time.
Yeah, which is neat.
Yeah.
I think that's another benefit to it.
That's definitely a good one.
And
Go ahead.
I was going to say that in addition to these odd sort of transitions that they use with the TV screen, this is a movie of mostly long shots.
Yes.
Like there's not a lot of quick cuts, and it's very segmented. Like one scene that really stood out to me is when I think Fay gets to her night shift working at the phone switchboard, and the camera is just like a profile shot of Fay there at her desk, like plugging all the cords in and out, and it's just that shot not moving or anything for like 10 or 12 minutes. Like it just hangs there. There's lots of shots that do that. Like it's just we're putting the camera in one place for 10 minutes, and then whenever there is motion, like I think at the beginning of the movie starts like this, like the camera follows Everett into the gym and follows him around the gym, and then it follows him and Fay as he's walking her to her night shift. Like it's either like the steady cam thing where it is actively walking around and following the characters as they are walking somewhere, or it's completely static.
Yeah, they do a good job of that stuff, and that kind of brings me to the one scene that I really liked. Is there is one tracking shot in particular that is amazing. I thought was fascinating when it got out of the gym in that one scene. I was just like, wow, this is great. This is amazing. So there's a scene in there where it starts at the radio station and Fay takes a smoke break. It starts at the phone operating switchboard location thing, and Faye takes a smoke break, and then she's standing there in the doorway smoking, and the camera kind of zooms past her, goes out of the building, turns and goes down the street for like 4 or 5 blocks, and then like turns down into a neighborhood and goes another like 2 blocks, and then goes to the high school, goes inside the high school, goes like up the bleachers, down the bleachers, in the basketball game, back up the bleachers, out the window, down the building, and then like down the street some more, across the field to the radio station. The shot lasts like maybe 2-3 minutes. It's a long shot. And it's so cool because again, like it's this small town, right? So it's a neat way to basically show the entire town. But they're all at that basketball station except for the starting and stop points of that scene where you have Fay and Everett. And so it's this neat transition of like, okay, now we're gonna change locations to the radio station, and instead of it being a hard cut or a a dissolve or a Fay or something, it's just like we're actually gonna take you with us to the radio station. Let's go. So cool. I loved that.
It's cool, and it's very eerie. Like, the camera moves very quickly. And I think it's at like approximately the eye level
Around
when
that,
it's walking around. Yeah. Like, the camera, it's never personified exactly. You know, it's not like where you might see the shot. I think when we covered American Werewolf in London, it had shots like that, and then would switch, and you realized you were seeing this long traveling shot through the werewolf's point of view. Like, it doesn't do anything like that. It's very, very still, and then it moves like it's this other entity, but not exactly. Again, this is one of those things where, like, they could have pushed it farther if they wanted to, but they don't. It's cool camera work for the sake of it being cool camera work, and it is excellent.
It's also a scene that kind of makes you it's one of those things. It's like the romantic notion of like, oh man, the person I like is staring up at the same moon. And that's the kind of vibe that I got, because she's in her doorway, like looking up at the moon, and it goes past her all the way through town to Everett. Which let's talk about Fay and Everett as the main two leads there, because they are, I think what we said at the start, they are like the reason to watch this movie. They are great. I don't know who the actors are. Let me see if I can look them up.
The actress who plays Faye, her name's Sierra McCormick. And I looked at that name and I'm like, this sounds vaguely familiar. And I look at her face and she's wearing these huge cat eye glasses the whole time. And I'm trying to like see past these glasses. I'm like, do I know you from something? And I realized what it was and I looked it up. She was on a Disney Channel show.
Oh, okay.
Like a couple years ago. There was a show called Ant Farm that was about like a wacky gifted kids school. And I think the kid she plays, she must have been like 13 or something in this show. The kid she plays has like an incredible memory and a huge bank of knowledge. So she is like rapid pace rattling off all of these facts, just like she is in this movie.
So she first became known for participating on the game Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader in 2007 and 2008, before shifting her focus into acting. She received attention for playing Lilith on the television series Supernatural. And then start as Scout Thomas on the comedy television series Romantically Challenged. And then, yes, next it mentions Ant Farm. Played Olive Doyle. And then it mentions a couple other movies that I don't know, but yeah. Yeah, she was fantastic. And then the actor that plays Everett is Jake Horowitz. His name is not linked to anything on Wikipedia,
I looked him up on IMDb and I saw what looked like a lot of theatrical credits. He may be a stage actor.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. It was like filmed productions of plays.
Man, I loved Everett. He was great.
Yeah.
He is, like we said, just a mile a minute. He is the cool cat in town. He is the only one that this town has. And he, like, that is kind of how the movie opens up, right? As we follow him as he's walking to the basketball gymnasium thing, and everyone just needs him for something. They need him to do this. They need to ask if he can do that. They need to see if he wants to do this. And then someone is like, oh, we needed you specifically. And then he gets there and they're like, no, we needed the other guy.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I meant Emmett. Yeah. And the lady's like, no, I asked you, do you mean Emmett or Everett? Everett's from the radio station. And the guy's like, Emmett also used to work at the radio station.
Like, no, he didn't.
There's a lot of like small town petty mundane chatter in like the first 15 minutes of the movie that's great.
Yeah, like that I think just immediately endears you to the film.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit jarring because it just starts out with that, and it's you're just like, oh, I have to catch up now here. What were they saying?
It's like, this is a movie that demands I put captions on. I'm not going to get through this without captions.
Yeah. And it's his character just put out there 100%, and immediately I was like, I like this guy. This guy's great. He's fantastic. And then that's when Faye comes in, and you can just immediately tell that she has the biggest crush on him, which they don't really mention it. They hint at it like once, but you can tell. You're just like, oh, she is in love with this
yeah, and like guy. He has such a soft spot for her.
Yeah,
and she does put him in his place when he is being a jerk. I love their back and forth. I love trying to imagine exactly what the relationship is, because I don't think we've mentioned how young they are. Faye is 16 and Everett,
smoking a pack a day.
It seems yeah. And Everett, it seems like it's like maybe 18, 19, like maybe it seems like he might be out of school, like he's graduated from the school they went to, and now he works at the radio station. It's not exactly clear, but I kind of like that it wasn't exactly clear. And you just kind of had to piece together what you thought the background was.
Yeah. And Faye's character, she wants to do bigger and better things. Like she mentions that at one point, where she wants to work on a switchboard for like a bigger school or a bigger library, or who I don't know who all had switchboards back then. That would mean she would have to move out of town and move to a bigger city, and she didn't know how she felt about that, and she wouldn't really get to see Everett and all sorts of stuff. So she was very mixed of like, I want to go do bigger and better things, but I like the stuff that I have here with me now.
Her background was, as we get little hints of it throughout the movie, it's like her and a single working mother, and she has like a baby sister who's like one. Yeah. And she says she doesn't have a dad. We don't know where the dad is. We don't know if that's her full sister or half sister, maybe. And it seems like she's fascinated with science. She would love to go to college, but she's not. She doesn't know how she's going to get the money. And she talks about, just moving up to bigger switchboards. I liked that she had such an adult job for a 16-year-old. Like, that was something I aspired to when I was younger. I wanted to have a job. There was something weirdly aspirational to me to have a job that's kind of mundane for an adult woman, but really interesting for a young woman to have. Sure. Like, when I was 9, I wanted to be a secretary. So I loved this 16-year-old switchboard operator.
Great.
Because that's a job I never see a teenager having.
Melissa has felt seen.
Yes, I did. This speaks to my like precocious office lady side of my personality. And and I liked that she liked her job. Yeah. Like, she didn't seem to begrudge, like, oh God, the only thing I can do in this town is work on the switchboard. She's like, I'd like to do bigger switchboards. It seems like she has larger goals of doing something in science, but until then, she's content to work on switchboards.
Yeah. The favorite thing, I was just gonna say, my favorite thing about her character is actually, so when the plot starts kind of picking up, and they hear this sound, and they're not sure what it is, and they're playing it on the radio, and they're starting to get some feedback back and calls in being like, here's this story and all of that, they start to get out of the like phone operator room, start to get out of the radio station, and they go to the basketball game, to people's houses, like they start to move. Whenever she feels like she needs to go do something, she runs. She's just like, I will not think, I will just move and run towards it. And especially the scene after they interview the old lady, they're like, the baby, I have to go back and check on her and all that, like make sure they're fine. I'm supposed to be looking after her. She just books it. Doesn't even think or remember that they drove here and they can take a car to get there faster. She doesn't care. She just runs.
Right. And Everett asks her, like, it's not even his car. He, like, stole their high school teacher's car.
That, I think, was the
character
best scene. And like, she's on a bike on her way somewhere, and then he pulls up in a car, and he's like, hop in. And he goes, he goes, did you steal a car? I stole a bike. She's so excited that they both were just like, let's steal something and go.
I love it. This is what I love in adventures. I love small town adventures where it's like, heck, we need these resources. Let's just take them. Routines. What do we have? But Everett asks her, like, oh, I took the car. Like, why are you running? Get back in the car. And she says, my family doesn't have a car. I walk everywhere. I don't think about it.
Yeah.
When I need to get somewhere, I just do it on foot.
And that, I think, was like my favorite thing about her character. Where she just books it and just doesn't think about, oh, it would be faster if we drive.
Yes. Yes.
Come on. Great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah, the movie opens with Everett, but I feel like we get to know Fay a little bit better and maybe spend a little bit more time with her over the course of the movie. But it is a fairly even-handed between the two of them.
Yeah. Another one of my favorite scenes is when they first hear that sound, and Fay has recorded it and is playing it back and is on the phone with Everett at the radio station, because it does the audio drama thing where you can totally shut your eyes and you can still understand everything, but you have her there and her voice is normal. You have the call that she's playing back, which is that like garbled, staticky, weird sound. And then you have Everett on the phone, which his voice sounds a little bit more normal because she's plugged in directly to his source. And then when he gets the sound, he's like, all right, I'm about to, go back live on air. She unplugs him, sticks in the sound so he can play it, and then you hear his voice on the radio, which she still has on, and it's still that like staticky old time radio thing. I'm just like, great, like it's real time, like he's right there doing. This is great. I love it. It was just the like the mixture of different like treatments to the voices and the sound. I really enjoyed that. Great.
Yeah, the sound design in this movie is wonderful. Like I love that. Like she's listening to the radio while she's at work, and like this weird sound interrupts the radio broadcast. She's able to record it somehow, and like she's calling around to all of these people, like, or I think her like board shorts out or something. There's some technical difficulty, and she's calling to all the other local switchboards, and like she can't get a hold of the right people. She calls home to where her like she calls home to where her cousin is babysitting her baby sister, and like she gets her once, but then she can't get a hold of her cousin. Like that woman calls in trying to get like emergency help. The woman who's clearly having her farm attacked by aliens, which we don't get back to. It's such a good chilling call, but they don't exactly circle back around to that, which I think I do kind of appreciate, just sort of the widespread slow chaos of this film.
Yeah. That's something that's
like
good.
It seems
they have a lot of like smaller things, right? Like you just mentioned, there's the one girl who's getting attacked. There's something that the old woman said, which we'll get to at a bit here, that I was like, ooh, I like that. But yeah, they do a good job of those just small things, those small details.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was a good time and place to set this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like there's no way to get information out quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in a small rural town, seems like. They're in New Mexico. And, like they're talking to various farmers. And it seems like things are also spread out enough that there is somebody on the edge of town who, like that woman on the phone who like has something happening to them that like nobody can see yet and word isn't reaching them yet. So there's that lingering unease of something's out there somewhere, and there's all these people who are oblivious, and they might not figure out, they might not be able to learn that something's happening until it's too late.
Yeah, it was a great time to set this in.
So I know you're not a horror movie person.
No, not really.
And I'm not I'm not a huge horror movie person. I'd like to be. I just haven't had, as many people around to watch the movies with me. But what did you think about this as a spooky sci-fi tale?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I see this more as like a thriller or like a sci-fi thriller than I do a horror story.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I don't like horror movies or shows or stuff like that because that's the main thing. Like, it is a horror movie, right? But if it's a action movie or a sci-fi film and it has horror elements, I'm usually fine with that because it's not the main focus. So yeah, there were some spooky things. I think the spookiest it got for me, it does that like general spookiness of the like, hey, something is happening and we don't understand it.
Yeah.
And it's probably aliens, but we don't know. And that, and then I think the scene where they go speak to the old woman is maybe the scariest that the movie gets, but it's not scary in like what you would typically think of as a horror film. It is just, this is creepy, this is eerie, like what is going on?
Yeah. This movie, I think I was expecting it to be a little more tense and scary. Okay. And it's missing a lot of the typical tension structure that a horror movie would have. Like, I noticed that a lot of like the turns that it took, like, I hear a spooky noise. I've gotten this distressing phone call from this woman. I'm trying to call around and I'm not getting anybody. It doesn't have that same like tension and panic and fear behind it that another movie might have treated it with. This whole movie is just like long, slow building of unease.
Yeah, I mean there is tension, right? Like I think Fay and Everett both realize that they have stumbled onto something big, and they are like they're kind of scared in that sense of just like, what did we just find? Holy shit, this is something here. But everyone is at the basketball game. Literally no one knows what is happening. And yeah, and then we do get the like tense, creepy moments between the phone calls with Billy and the interview with the old woman, and them kind of running through the woods after that. Like, those are the three creepy moments, but they're not scary per se.
No. And to talk about the discussion with the old woman, I forget, she has the most old woman name. It's like Helen Mabel or something like
Mabel
that.
Blanche.
Right, exactly. Mabel Blanche. Yes.
Mabel Blanche.
They're talking to her. Literally, like, they turn on the recorder. They ask her, like, we're going to record this for the future. Are you okay with this? And she just starts talking. It's not a conversation. It's a monologue this woman is giving these kids. And she's including all of these unnecessary side details that are dragging on the story. Like, I remember this thing happening to my neighbor when I was a kid. And actually, like, I was orphaned at a young age. So I spent many weekends with this neighbor, and her dad was the pastor. So he took me in, and he took this other person in. And I grew up, and I met this guy, and I thought we were going to be in love forever. And then he left, and he did work. And then I found out later that he died. Like, there's a lot of okay, lady, get to this. Like, what are we actually here to talk about? Like, get to
Which
it.
is something that an old woman would do who just is by herself, right?
Yeah, and that frustration builds its own unique kind of tension where, like, half the stuff she's saying is unnecessary, but you get that, like, the narrative is doing that on purpose. You know, like, this is the old woman's character to just share, you know, the story of her life with people now that she has this opportunity. So it's packed with all these details like you don't need. And then she starts talking about her son, and she's telling everything in kind of the same manner. So when she drops in, like it's the same mundane detail she's mentioned for anything else, that her 10-month-old baby starts talking in a clear voice with this alien language she's never heard. That's really shocking because it's set, the tempo has been set, and this is fitting the same tempo, but the content of it is wildly different and much darker.
Yeah, very much so. So the actress that plays Mabel is Gail Cronauer, and she has been in movies such as JFK and the TV series Walker, Texas Ranger.
Storied career.
Great stuff. Yeah.
And again, with the long shots that this movie uses, it's just a static camera on the Mabel Blanche. She's in shadow, and she's also in profile. There's a lot of profiles in this movie. So you're seeing just like half of her face, you know, in shadow. And it's also like kind of a mid-range shot, like kind of like torso up.
Yeah.
And it hangs on that for, like I said, like 10 minutes statically. And then when that monologue's over, like I think it does cut or move over to Fay and Everett. And then it cuts back to Mabel Blanche, and it's closer. It's a close-up of her face. You see her whole face. She's more brightly lit. And there was something like weirdly startling about that in a good way. Not that like it was jarring in a good way, that like you've seen this woman, you know, from farther away, more obscured in shadow, and then suddenly there she is, like bright and clear. Like that's the equivalent of a jump scare that this movie has.
Yeah, exactly. So the old woman, I was still expecting a twist with this. The one thing that I started to be like, oh, maybe this is the twist, is when the old woman kind of finishes her story and tells about her like alien baby getting taken and stuff like that. When they start to leave, she asks them, "Can you take me with you?"
Yeah.
And that threw me off a bit, and I was just like, what do you mean? Oh, she thinks they're aliens, or she thinks that they are about to.
Oh,
it was either that, or like she thinks they are about to be taken. Like they are going to figure out how to communicate with them and be like, "Beam me up, Scotty." But she like that was her only request is like, "Hey, I want you to do me a favor, take me with you." And so I was like, the twist has to do with that somehow, some way. It has to. Nothing. They leave her. They leave her house. We never see her again. I guess Fay and Everett get taken, but they don't get.
Yeah.
They don't take Mabel with them, so sucks for Mabel. But
not that we see. Yeah. There is, I wouldn't call it a twist, but it is an interesting surprise at the end that they see this spaceship hovering over them, and then an even bigger spaceship comes out of the clouds.
Yeah. It's like, there's the
like, oh, this
mothership.
was just like, yeah, this was just a little shuttle. This is a little recon ship. Like, yo, that's real headquarters.
Yeah, but I don't know, because like that was the whole thing, is I was trying to figure out the twist, like what is gonna happen, what's gonna be the big reveal, what's gonna be and there was nothing, and I just couldn't help but feel disappointed because of that. Like if it didn't have that like paradox theater thing at the start, I think I would have been more fine with it not having some kind of extra step. Like, oh, this was a really interesting character piece of just these two characters discovering this alien invasion, basically. It just had that one thing that made me expect something else.
So. Yeah, the movie's interesting in that I think it's great at building atmosphere, and some of this underlying unease comes from that atmosphere that it sets, but also it's waiting for, when are we getting to something weird? I don't think you hear the alien sound until like half an hour into the movie. I think before that, it's all like characters and small town setting.
Yeah, it's like small town setup, and spooky. Act 1 of the film kind of ends with them discovering this sound and being like, well, we don't know what this is. Whereas Act 2 is all the stuff with Billy, and then Act 3 starts with the old woman, ends with them being taken.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating that this movie is so small and insular that the third build character is somebody who delivers a monologue over the phone for 10 minutes, whom we never see.
Yeah. We don't know what he looks like.
We don't follow up. Yeah, and I do kind of like that this movie doesn't have a closure, because there are all these things that are dropped. Like, who is Billy? Where is Billy at? You know, it's mentioned that one of Billy's old comrades died. I think Billy mentions this happening to him too. Like, he's getting sick. Like, there's all these. What happened to that woman on the farm who was like going down into her storm cellar? Like, it drops a lot of these weird outside mysteries on you that the characters just don't get to by the time the movie stops in its real time. All of this happens over like an hour and a half.
Yeah, and I really enjoy that. Like, that is the kind of world building that I enjoy, that like they give you enough information to let you know that, hey, things are happening. There's this character over here who's being attacked or something, right? There's this other character who was like ex-military, and he had some kind of crazy adventures back in the day. Maybe they were building some kind of, or deconstructing some alien spaceship, or building something to study it, right? But we don't see him. What happened to him? What happened to the other people that were with him there? But then, they don't tell you, they don't show you, and it just gives you enough to think about and be like, there is more out there, which is then kind of this odd parallel to this alien story of like, there is more out there. Like, it's not just humans, right?
Oh, something else that I wondered if it was going to come back was this sequence towards the beginning of the movie that I really liked, where Everett is walking Fay to work, and she's telling him these articles she read in these science magazines of these forthcoming technologies. And I think one of them is like a smart driving car. One of them is like a the cell phone's the last one, and he's like, I don't think that's gonna happen. And the second one's like a high-speed underground, rail, like a tube rail system. Yeah. She's like, the man will get on he'll get down in the subway in New York City, and then after an hour, he'll put his hat back on and he'll step out of the train, and there he is in San Francisco.
First thing he'll say is, thank you, Elon Musk. And
Oh, another thing about this movie, it's set in New Mexico, and I was curious if the southern accents a lot of the characters are doing are true to New Mexico.
I don't know. I've never been to Mexico. I feel like it's
I don't know what that
enough to
regional
Texas,
accent is.
Right? That I'm sure you would get enough, and it, I guess, maybe depends on if they're on the side closer to Texas or the side closer to California. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not sure. Your camera is out of focus right now, just FYI.
Well,
there we go. Okay. But yeah, so
I guess they moved around too
it
much.
being set in New Mexico was interesting because that was also something I was expecting them to comment on a little bit more. Being set in New Mexico in a story with aliens, I was like, when are they gonna mention Roswell? When are they gonna mention Area 51? Or is this the start of Area 51 and that's what the story is? Like, is that what they were building there? Nothing. We don't get a mention of that at all, unless I missed something that Billy said. But nothing.
I don't think it's overtly mentioned, but you definitely can imagine that Area 51 was part of what Billy went through. He just isn't naming names, putting numbers on bases. He's being very vague.
They did not know that it would become Area 51. But yeah, like I was expecting that to somehow play in, and it just never did. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the elements that are included earlier on in the narrative that don't get resolved, I don't think it's like sloppiness or laziness. I think that the movie just picked a very narrow, specific, simple scope.
Right.
It's like we were telling the story in relatively real time. It's going to take like max hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I think there's very little things that happen that we don't see, little bits of travel time that are cut out. And yeah, and then our main characters are being taken away by aliens at the end of the movie. And yeah, they're not going to be around. We're out of protagonist. There's no protagonist to go check on anybody.
Yeah.
But I wonder if this was to continue, I'd love to see like someone else in the town. Like I want to see the aftermath of these two kids getting abducted, and somebody else is like, this is like a legend that they tell people, like, you know, the local radio DJ, he could have made it big, but he just
fell in love and done RUNNOFT. They done run off.
Yeah, it's like there was a mysterious lights in the sky, and then he disappeared, and we don't know what happened there. And then there was this young girl from his high school. We don't know where she is either. Like I'd like to see the next generation of, you know, little investigators like follow up. Like what happened to those kids?
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed my time. Like I keep saying, there was just enough that it was just like, I wanted more. One more step. Like something else.
Yeah, it's an interesting shortcoming to watch, I suppose. Because I think there are movies that are too complex, they're confusing. There's nothing in this movie that's confusing. I don't remember the last time I saw a movie. Like I've seen movies that like this twist doesn't make sense.
Like how did they
to
even
watch
get
a movie
there?
yeah. And to watch a movie we're expecting something broader to happen, and instead it's like, oh, that was extremely straightforward. Like it's an interesting problem to have to deal with, I suppose. Like I said, it's kind of refreshing that the story just set like a very limited narrative scope for itself. And I appreciate that it's like, okay, the plot itself isn't going to be anything, you know, really big, but we're going to really pack everything into characters and setting and cinematography and atmosphere. Like I'll take this combination of sliders. I like where they spent their attention.
Indeed. I think that's about all I have to say on this film. Do you have any kind of last thoughts?
I don't think so. I'd recommend it. Yeah. Maybe, you know, if you do let somebody know. I wonder if this might help the movie go down a little bit easier if you tell them, like, it is a straightforward plot. You don't let the Paradox Theater thing play too much in your mind, influencing what you're looking for in this film.
I gotcha.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Okay.
I think it's also a good spooky movie for somebody who doesn't like spooky movies, or for a young person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could show this to like a 10-year-old and they'd have a good time.
I don't know about 10-year-old, but yeah. Yes, it depends on what they're into, or...
Yeah, well, a 10-year-old like me who likes mundane adult things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Oh boy, a switchboard.
Melissa's big aspirations of switchboards.
I just want to wear an A-line skirt and sit at a desk.
Recommendations. Melissa, if you had to recommend some stuff that if people liked this or wanted something similar, what might you recommend?
Definitely some audio dramas. Like when you first told me about this, it reminded me a lot of Welcome to Night Vale.
Yes.
Which is a radio broadcast from a small desert town where I believe they've pitched it as where every conspiracy theory is real.
Yeah.
Like everything's a cover up, everything's a monster, just like the weirdest town imaginable. And it's a radio DJ who's like, yeah, this is just the town. And coming up on the community calendar, we have whaling at the pit at 4:00 on Thursday.
Yeah.
Make sure to bring your whaling cloak. It's just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
stuff like, and don't go to your local playground after 10. The hooded figures in white are not to be trifled with. And coming up next, it's the weather. Like, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this movie reminded me more of King Falls AM.
Okay, good one. Yeah.
Which is a podcast we've covered for the show before, which is it is a small mountain town this time, late night radio show. This is like the 2 to 6 a.m. slot. It's these two guys and all these weird townspeople calling in, but weird in like a quirky way. And then they start bringing in these supernatural forces slowly.
Yep.
There is alien stuff. There is mysterious lights in the sky and people getting taken. And that one is more dialogue based. It's chattier. It's more about the small town quirks. And then it's like, oh, there's lights following that truck driver on the road.
Yeah.
Like it's a closer tonal match. And then also this reminded me a lot of Uncanny County.
Yep. Okay.
Which is a anthology podcast of all these short stories that is kind of Twilight Zone-esque. It's also about like, you took a wrong turn on the highway to reality. You found yourself in Uncanny County. All these short stories. I think there are some recurring characters. Like there's the same sheriff who pops up in a couple of them. They're kind of tenuously connected to each other. But yeah, short, speculative, sometimes twisty, sometimes cautionary tale stories like that.
Good stuff. I do want to mention we covered King Falls AM back on episode 29 of the review show.
Ooh,
so
it's an early one. And we covered the first year of the show. It isn't exactly of seasons, but the year breaks are kind of like season breaks.
1 through 25 to be exact. I'm looking at our thing here. So yeah. I also have another podcast to recommend, Limetown.
Ah, yeah.
Limetown was a good one. Yeah, it was, I think, only one season. I think there is a second season coming, or they've said that there was, but that was a while ago, and I don't know when. Yeah. Limetown was fascinating. It is a kind of investigative journalism podcast about this fictional town that disappeared one day. And then this journalist is investigating it all, kind of finding out that, oh, this was a town of like all scientists, and it was like a curated community of scientists all working on different experiments that may or may not be frowned upon in mainstream society. That's why they kind of formed their own thing. And yeah, weird things are happening. And I remember there's one episode in there about why am I is there a word for it? I'm blanking on the word, but like mental projection, where you can hear someone talk inside your mind.
Oh, yeah,
like mind reading stuff, but not exactly.
Telepathy.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Telepathy, but like there's stuff like that, and just how experiments like that went wrong within the town, as well as how and why they disappeared. But that show also has one of the scariest sequences of any media I have ever consumed, and that terrified me. I won't spoil it, but there is something in there that is just horrifying. And it's a great sound design too. But yeah, that would be a good one to check out. Kind of that small town horror sci-fi thing going on there. I don't know exactly what happened, but and then I know Limetown was also turned into, I think, like a 1-season mini series on Facebook. It was like a Facebook original show or something.
Yeah, they were trying to get
Jessica
like a
Biel or something like that.
Yeah, I think they were trying to get some sort of a streaming platform going, and I haven't heard of anything else that's been on there. But I've been wanting to get find a free week's trial or something to watch this thing, because the trailer looked good.
Yeah.
It looked like a really nice adaptation of this audio drama.
It looked good indeed. That would be what I recommend. I'm trying to think of movies or stuff that fit this vibe. None is coming up exactly. Maybe Signs, honestly.
Yeah. Yes.
That might be a good one. The M. Night Shyamalan classic. And then, last but not least, of course, we have to recommend The Twilight Zone.
Yes.
Go watch some classic Twilight Zone, because they're still so good. They're just.
What's one of your favorite episodes?
Oh man, I do like To Serve Man. That's a great one. The one where the world is too hot, and everyone is so they have this thing where the world is burning. It's basically this is the heat death of the world.
I don't remember this one.
And it is they're all sweating. People are dying of heat stroke and all of that stuff, and they're just trying to survive. And then at the end of it, you learn that it's all a dream, and they are in a world where the world is freezing, and it's just exactly the opposite. We're just we wish it was hot.
We'll take it. I mean, we know we're not getting out of a disaster, but can we take different kind of disaster?
Yeah, that one is good. Another creepy one is that small town with the boy who is
I think it's called
God,
The Good Life,
something like that.
It's a Good Life.
Yeah, it might be that one. And they just there's something strange about this young boy, and everyone is doing what he says and trying not to anger him, and you don't really find out why. You hear some little details and stories about he got mad at them and now they're gone, and it's just what does that mean? I don't think it's the same one, but there's the one with the boy with the toy phone. Dude, that one is creepy as hell. I love
talking to his grandma.
That one, yeah. There's tons of them.
I think my faves are Eye of the Beholder.
That's a
classic.
Great one. Yeah.
This is my dream Halloween costume. If I ever know anybody who's good at special effects makeup, I want to be a pig face nurse.
Yep. There you go.
And I love an episode called The Howling Man, I think.
Howling Man.
Where this man is backpacking through Europe or something, and a huge storm hits, and he needs to seek shelter for the night, and he finds the small monastery in the mountains.
I don't think I've seen this
they
one.
They let him stay there for the night, and then he finds out that they have a prisoner, and the prisoner might be the devil. But the whole episode is done in canted angles.
Oh, that
it's shot really weirdly. I dig it.
Isn't that a Dutch angle? Is that
I've
what
heard
it is?
yeah. I think that's they're synonyms.
Yeah, slightly off kilter.
Yeah, the whole thing. And I think the episode starts with beyond. No. I think before Rod Serling even comes out, I think it's maybe one of the characters coming out telling you the story from decades later, and they're a harried old man. So it's just this old man yelling at you on a diagonal angle with a storm in the background. It's a great opening.
Good stuff. Yeah, it's great. I haven't checked out the new stuff that Jordan Peele is
Yeah.
hosting, so I'm not sure how good those are. If you want more like modern day sci-fi stuff, Black Mirror is a good one to check out. But yeah, that's I think what I would recommend. There you go. Melissa, it is your turn to do the pitches. What do you got for me?
Yeah. So we talked at the beginning of the show, and we've mentioned recently in several of our episodes that we've done these Patreon bonus episodes for our Reactor Core feed, where we are watching movie trailers from the past within our lifetime, and talking about the art of the trailer and the evolution of the trailer. So I thought I would take 3 movies that we watched trailers for that you haven't seen. Just pitch you these.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. So the first of these I've seen, but the other 2 I also haven't. So they would be brand new. So pitch, and I got one from each of our 3 decades.
Ah, nice.
Cover it. So pitch number 1 from the 90s is Godzilla, 1998. Roland Emmerich's Godzilla, starring Matthew Broderick, Jean Reno, and 2 Simpsons voice actors.
Man, okay.
I loved this movie as a kid, and watching it as an adult, I watched it like 4 or 5 years ago. I still have a lot of fondness for it, but I'm utterly bewildered why I liked this as a kid. I can't figure it out. I don't think it's a very good movie, and I don't know what in the world appealed to an 8-year-old girl.
Sure.
But I loved this Godzilla.
It was a big deal back in the day. I know I've seen this one once. I haven't seen it since then, so I don't remember a thing. The only thing I do remember is that I had Godzilla Band-Aids when I was a kid. They were pretty cool, yeah.
It's pitch number 1 is Godzilla. Pitch number 2 is a movie I don't think either of us have seen. This is 2000's Ghost World.
Ah, yes. I have not seen
this is based on a graphic novel by Daniel Clowes, and I see here on IMDb he also wrote the screenplay for this.
Nice. Okay.
So that's pretty good. And the IMDb pitch is, with only the plan of moving in together after high school, 2 unusually devious friends seek direction in life. As a mere gag, they respond to a man's newspaper ad for a date, only to find it will greatly complicate their lives. So it's Thora Birch and Scarlett Johansson, and one of them dates Steve Buscemi. And I think it's just like a weird little slice of life movie.
Okay.
I don't know what actually happens in this, but I know the graphic novel and its adaptation are very well regarded, and I'm curious about what the heck this thing is.
I haven't read the graphic novel, haven't seen this one, but I've seen the graphic novel in my local comic book store. I haven't been to in so long.
Well, we could do this in their spirit.
Right, yeah.
And pitch number 3 from the 2010s, I think this was like a 2017, 2018 movie, Murder on the Orient Express.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
We were talking about how the trailer, this is based on the Agatha Christie novel. Some guy gets murdered on a train. Everybody on the train is a suspect. Detective Hercule Poirot and his mustache are there to figure it out.
Yep.
It's a period movie that's set in the time when Agatha Christie wrote the book, and I don't know exactly when, or early 1900s.
Yeah, something like that.
10s, 20s, 30s. Not exactly sure. Presumably the movie may tell us. But the trailer had a lot of contemporary touches to it. It had really interesting camera work. All the text that appeared on screen was in neon lights. It was playing an Imagine Dragons song.
Yeah.
And we spent some time in this bonus episode wondering how many of these contemporary touches were only for the trailer and how much of it is. Yeah. So I thought we could find that out.
Interesting. Okay. So pitch number 1, Godzilla. Pitch number 2, Ghost World. And pitch number 3, Murder on the Orient Express. This is a tough one. I don't know. Let's do Murder on the Orient Express.
Okay.
I kind of want to do Ghost World too, but I think, I don't know. I feel like we'll have a better discussion for Murder on the Orient Express because we were so interested in that trailer when we watched it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on. And as I mentioned in that episode, I know the basic premise of this mystery. I've never found out what the ending is. I don't know who the culprit is, like through cultural secondhand that has not reached me. So I don't know how this murder mystery is going to go.
Who knows? We'll see. And you know me, I love a good crime, mystery, detective fiction.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't think anybody dies in Ghost World to make the ghost. But who knows? I really don't.
Really have no idea.
Could be.
Yeah.
There could be a murder in Ghost World. We have no idea.
So next week, we will be discussing Murder on the Orient Express. I also want to give a shout out that Melissa, you and I are planning a new episode of the Reactor Corps for season 2 of Umbrella Academy. You and I covered season 1 of Umbrella Academy. Let me see what episode it was. I think it was like episode 50 or something. Umbrella Academy. Do I know what episode? Yeah, episode 50. Nailed it. The one right after Green Lantern the animated series. So if you want to follow the plot, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're in a unique opportunity to cover season 2 on the Reactor Corps because the show just came out this past weekend. We've already covered season 1. We can now cover season 2 with this. So I'm excited. Be on the lookout for that. In the next week or two, we're not sure exactly when we're going to be recording that, but we will have it up for you guys soon. But yeah, next week, there's been a murder. So, there you go. Melissa, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
You can find me at YoKyleSpringer on Twitter and Instagram. You guys can stay up to date with our show at The Whatnauts on Twitter. Go like, share, subscribe, sell your soul, tell a friend, tell a foe. Do what you need to do to help spread the word. I think we're still sitting at 82 subscribers on YouTube. We are pushing for 100, so please, if you guys like our show, go subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You guys can see our lovely faces as we discuss all of these books and movies and TV shows and all of that stuff. It's good fun.
I've been wearing a UFO necklace this whole episode, to FYI.
I didn't know what that was. I wasn't going to comment because they're just like, oh, she's wearing a necklace. Cool. But it's a UFO.
Yeah, it's a little UFO. It's got a little alien, and it says, I want to believe on it.
Perfect. There you go. Good stuff from our resident X-Files expert.
Yep.
Indeed. Well, that wraps us up for episode 100, and I forget the number again. 17. 117 of the Whatnauts review show. We will be back next week. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for checking out our podcast. We hope you enjoyed that one. Leave a comment down below what else you would recommend to people who might have liked The Vast of Night. That would be wonderful. Or name your favorite episode of the Twilight Zone, because that would be pretty cool too. In the meantime, go subscribe to our channel, which is right up here over there in that corner. Right there. And then go watch one of our other videos, which is right down here in this corner. That would help us out a ton. We got plenty of podcasts for you to check out. But until next time, we will see you later. Bye.